Know your times.
Good morning to you. This is Radio Breakfast with me, Julia Hartley-Brewer. Still with me, Benedict Spence, freelance journalist, and Matt Pant, National Organiser of Labour First. We'll discuss this story a number of times. But Sir Geoffrey Boycott, even just those three words has become rather a controversial issue in the last couple of days. This is after Theresa May, in her resignation honours, offered a knighthood to the extraordinary England cricketer. Now, it's 21 years, though, since he was convicted for assaulting his girlfriend in a hotel room in France. He appealed that conviction, was reconvicted, and he was given a 3-month suspended sentence. But it was 21 years ago. He has always denied being guilty of that crime. Now he's got a knighthood, speaks people for women's refuges and domestic violence organisations, said this is an insult to women who've been victims of this crime, and effectively normalises and says it's okay for men to beat up their girlfriends and then still get the greatest honour they can have in this country from the Queen and indeed the former Prime Minister. So should Geoffrey Boycott be Sir Geoffrey Boycott? Well, let's discuss this with two guests. Natalie Collins is a gender justice specialist, and Mike Buchanan is leader of the political party Justice for Men and Boys. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Julia.
Natalie, to come to you first. First of all, can I just double check, what is a gender justice specialist and why do you think that Geoffrey Boycott shouldn't be Sir Geoffrey?
Yeah, so I work on lots of issues related to male violence, including domestic violence, rape, and sexual violence and other forms of abuse. So it's a broader term to describe all that. And the reason that I don't think that Geoffrey Boycott should be honoured is because this gives a sense to the society that what he is somebody who should be honoured, and he has been a perpetrator of violence. He punched his girlfriend 20 times in the face, which led to him being convicted twice after he appealed it. And so to give somebody an honour, and particularly when he is confronted about that on the radio yesterday, when he was confronted, he said he didn't give a toss. So this isn't somebody who is repentant, who is remorseful.
No. He said he didn't give that language. He didn't give. I'm not sure that language is appropriate this time in the morning, but he didn't give about what the Women's Refuge charity had said about him and that them not wanting him. That's quite different, I think.
Well, he said twice. He said he doesn't give a toss overall. Sorry, in the morning. He did say it in the morning himself, to be fair.
Yes.
So he said overall he didn't care about this at all.
No, he didn't. He didn't care about people being upset about it. I mean, Geoffrey Boycott, I think we can safely say, having heard him enough times on the radio, seen him on the telly, he doesn't really care what anyone thinks about anything that he does. So it wasn't necessarily talking about that. But he's always said he was innocent of this crime, even though he's convicted. Absolutely accept he's convicted. Got a 3-month suspended sentence. He lost an awful lot of work, jobs at the BBC, other work over that conviction. Has he not served his time after 21 years?
I mean, I think it depends on what you mean by serve his time. Absolutely, he should be able to roam free among society and operate in whatever ways he wants to operate. But actually, we have to be really careful about saying that somebody has the right to get an honour like this and be called sir when they've committed a crime like he has. And so I think overall, absolutely he should be free to roam the world and, get jobs and those kind of things. But he shouldn't be free to have an honour like this.
All right, Mike Buchanan. I suppose a lot of this depends on whether or not this is an honour for someone being a nice person or a good person, or whether it's an honour for someone being really darn good at cricket.
I think that's exactly the point, Julia. I mean, this is recognition of his services to cricket. He's been punished. Why should he be punished again? There is, of course, a huge double standard at play here. I can't remember women's organisations or Natalie calling for sanctions against prominent women who've been violent towards their partners. Now, male MPs who've been violent to their partners can expect to lose their jobs, while female MPs who've done the same thing find their careers unaffected.
And we have actually seen a case involving that, yes.
Well, indeed, it's Sarah Champion, who's on the Women and Equalities Committee, and Layla Moran, both were violent towards their partners, and they talk about it publicly, and they're lauded for being brave, whereas men in the same position lose their jobs.
But I mean, I don't think anyone here, I'm pretty sure, I'm sure I'm saying this, Natalie and Mike, no one in this conversation is saying it's absolutely okay for anyone, male or female, to go around hitting their partners in any of these circumstances. But does it matter, Mike, that this is 21 years ago? Because it does seem to me, if he'd done it last year, I've got to be honest with you, I'd have a problem with the honour. But 21 years ago is, it's almost a lifetime ago.
Yes, but I mean, to feminists like Natalie, I'm sure it wouldn't make the slightest difference if it was 50 years ago. I mean, the key thing is to just keep on punishing men. Men can never be punished enough. They must be punished, until they're in their graves.
Natalie, that is an issue, isn't it? I mean, he has lost out on having an honour all this time because of that conviction. Does there not come a point when you just say, it's not like he's been repeatedly convicted for doing the same thing again and again. Indeed, at his trial, a number of former long-term partners, one now I think his current one, testified that they'd not have been the victim of violence from him. Even if he says he didn't do it, let's accept the court's view on this, that he did beat up his girlfriend. Even if this was just a one-time affair, doesn't make it okay, but does it mean that has to blight his entire life?
Well, I think it depends on what you mean by blight. Honouring somebody by giving them the title of Sir is not only that when it's related to cricket, he will be referred to as Sir. He'll be referred to as Sir across every aspect of his life. And so this isn't just about cricket, is it? It's about recognising somebody as somebody who should be honoured, and particularly for a Prime Minister who has said at various points throughout her political career that domestic violence is important to her.
Well, she has actually acted. No, she hasn't, no doubt at all. Even the charities that are criticising this decision have paid tribute to the work that Theresa May has done on that particular field.
Yeah, and I think this is just that tone deafness which perhaps characterises her entire political career, that it is not appropriate to be honouring someone. And I think that hasn't done him any favours, because he's probably been quite pleased that nobody really has remembered his offences and all this, and suddenly it's in the public sphere again, and lots of people who previously wouldn't have known anything about the fact that he committed this offence are now aware of it. So I don't think overall it's done him as much of a favour as it might have.
That is a fair point. One of the guests in the studio said he had, he's a cricket fan, but hadn't like me, followed it in those years and had no idea about this conviction. But the thing about this, Natalie, is we were told, lots of papers are saying, women's domestic violence charities are saying, this is an insult to those women. This basically says it's okay for men to hate women. It doesn't say anything of the sort, does it, though? It doesn't, even if you can say, I don't think this guy's worthy of an honour. This idea that because someone has been a victim of domestic violence, that they should have an opinion on this, and this in some way affects them. That's just nonsense.
Well, I think it isn't nonsense, because when women are, it's very difficult for somebody to get a conviction for domestic violence for a start. So lots and lots and lots, hundreds, thousands of women report having been abused, raped, violated in horrendous ways, and it never even makes it to court. So the fact that this guy was convicted is a huge deal, and then for that to then not be taken seriously, what that says to women is, oh well, he matters and I don't. And the fact that he's done this, and this is a Prime Minister who's supposed to care about domestic violence, is honouring him. What that says to me is that I don't really matter, but actually we're more interested in perpetrators than we are in supporting women.
Mike Buchanan, again, this is the issue, isn't it? It's anything that any man has done forever, that is always going to make him the baddie. A woman is always the victim. Is that how you're seeing this?
Yes, of course. And, Natalie there talked about men's violence, towards women. The Women's Aid, along with Refuge, have been in complete denial about what's been known for decades about domestic violence. It's not a gendered issue, it's a generational one. And in heterosexual couples where the violence is one way, we've known for a very long time that the perpetrator is more than twice as likely to be the woman as the man. And the highest rates of domestic violence are found in lesbian couples. So this relentless narrative of men as perpetrators and women as victims is nonsense.
Look, again, I don't know about those statistics, but we certainly know there have been plenty of instances where there are women who perpetrate violence. Whoever is perpetrating the violence is a bad person. But let's leave that aside. Does that mean that someone who's convicted of that crime is always someone who should never have an honour?
No, of course. I think, of course, Geoffrey Boycott should have his honour. It's very well deserved. It's got absolutely nothing to do with this alleged assault 20 plus years ago.
Oh, well, it's not alleged. He is convicted of it. But
he denies it. Of course,
he denies it. But it's no longer an alleged assault. But Christian, we know that other people like David Beckham. We've seen some emails leaked, but where he's complaining. When am I ever going to get my knighthood? One would argue he's rather obvious as someone who's the England captain. He's a hero for many, that he should have a knighthood. And yet we know it's because of his tax arrangements that the various committees have said no, thank you very much. If you cannot get an honour because of how much tax you pay, surely then it should be relevant whether or not you've ever punched someone in the face.
I don't think it's remotely relevant. This is about cricket. It's nothing to do with his personal life. I think if people's personal lives were taken into account, I guess the honours list would be somewhat shorter than it is.
That's a very good point, Natalie. That is true, isn't it? At the end of the day, if we're going to assume that you can only get an honour if you're a very nice person and haven't done anything bad in your life, we're going to have very, very few knighthoods and damehoods.
Well, I think that depends on who you give them to. Like, if you're going to give them to celebrities and to cricket commentators, potentially that's the case.
No, but he's not got it for being a cricket commentator. He's got it for being one of the greatest English cricketers we've ever had.
But yeah, but
does that count for absolutely nothing?
If you're going to, well, I mean, it's yes, I understand that as a society we value sport very highly, but we should value women's lives and what women has been done to women more highly than whether somebody can hit a ball with a bat very well.
But no, wait a minute. Can't we value both of those things at the same time? And obviously, in any scenario, I care more about a woman not being beaten up than I care about England winning a cricket match. But why do those things have to be linked at all?
Because the person who's being given honour has done both of those things, so he's linked those things. It's not me that's linking them. Somebody is being given an honour who is good at hitting a ball with a bat and has punched a woman in the face 20 times. Those two things have been linked in that person. So if we don't want those two things to be linked, we shouldn't give awards to people who've done both of those things. And
just finally, with you, Natalie, where do we draw the line in terms of past convictions? Because if he'd had a conviction for shoplifting, would that mean that? I'm assuming you think wouldn't mean he shouldn't get an honour. If he was in a fight with a bloke in a pub and he'd punched a bloke, would he ever be allowed to get an honour? Where do we draw the line? Any criminal conviction, or is it just violence against women?
Well, I think we have to. I don't know whether we can have a blanket rule. Like you say, we could draw the line at violent crime, but actually tax evasion is very serious in terms of the impact it has on our country. So I think it's a more complex picture than saying this thing should preclude you or not. And I think his overall attitude to this offence is part of the problem too, that him saying he doesn't give a toss, all these things, that all contributes.
I mean, if he is, but Mike Buchanan, just funny, if he is an innocent man, if he, as he claims, I wasn't there, I don't know what happened. The court said that she was telling the truth and he was not. But if he is this man, I mean, I would be taking the very similar attitude to him if I felt hard done by in this scenario. I don't think people should have to, if they genuinely believe they're innocent, they shouldn't have to pretend that they think they're guilty, should they?
I think that's a very good point. And of course, Julia, there's always a problem with these he said, she said cases because people are too inclined to believe the woman's account rather than the man's account. And the feminist mantra from Natalie and others of believe her amounts to don't believe him, and in the criminal justice system, to unsafe convictions of men,
okay,
which we know are common.
Mike Buchanan, leader of the political party Justice for Men and Boys, Natalie Collins, Gender Justice Specialist.